Okay, so starting with, I have only one FFO, and it's so tiny, it's kind of shameful that this is my FFO, but remember the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery little Valentine pattern that derailed all of my February plans? I do have it finished, and this thing is cute as a bug. And so happy with how it turned out. Just did it on a little scrap, and yeah, just super happy with it. Used Vanna's tutorial to do it. Oh, I actually on this I sort of did a combination. I did loft my batting, and I feel like it looks so good. Vanna, thank you so much for all of your help and insight into finishing. It's just been great. But my other person, goodness, now I can't remember if it was Sylvia or Marlene. I think it was Sylvia, but Marlene, if this is you and I'm taking credit away from you, I was doing my, I finished it and forgot to do the hanger. Maybe it was Vanna that's, oh, guys, I'm losing my mind. Okay, anyways, one of those three people, maybe it was one, now that I think about it, because I was watching her tutorial just to go step by step in the way that she finishes. And so anyway, one of them talked about putting a button on the back, and then when you sew the hanger on, you add a button in the back, and that sort of stabilizes it a little bit. And so I did that, and that worked really well. So anyway, here's the pattern, the little girl at the mailbox with the mail. Oh, I think that's so cute. I would love to do one of these every month, like a different one for each month. They're just adorable. And then I finished it. I did a quilt for my son years ago when he played baseball, and this was like baseball fabric, and I thought that worked well for Valentine's Day. And then Vanna had talked about, I think she stitches her initials on a piece of linen and then glues it to the back. And so I didn't stitch it. I wrote it with Sharpie and glued it to the back. And then I have, I've been looking at this light up tree. Like it reminds me of a cherry tree or a crabapple tree maybe, and maybe you all have seen it at Hobby Lobby. It's just a little bit taller than I am, and the branches come out, and there's little flowers, little light flowers that light up on the end, and there's a million little lights. And I've been looking at this for probably a couple years at Hobby Lobby, and it went on sale, and it was down to like, I want to say it was 60% off. So it was down to $49. It had been over $100, I think. Anyway, I bought it, and this, oh, that looks cute hanging on it. Whew. So I need a whole bunch of, ornaments for every month to hang on it. So it just looks, our entryway is a little bit dark. And so I've always kept lights out there, either strand lights that I've wrapped around something or whatever. But now I have the tree there, and I don't have to always be looking for strands of lights to put. So anyway, I finished that. This was one that I stitched. I bought the pattern. I stitched it. I finished it. I didn't work on anything else. I was on a mission. It was really fun. And I did that with I talked about the fabric sale at RLNS, and my girlfriend Kathleen had hopped in, and she got me like 8 pieces of little scrap fabric, and this was one of them, and it was just the right size. And so anyway, okay, then I cannot remember if I have ever showed you this, but so that's my only FFO, and the rest are whips. But I think it's Kay that talks about Sunday stitching, and I liked that idea, and I adopted that. I combined. I'm just copying people. I'm so pathetic, but I hope that's okay. I combined, I think you pronounce her name Ingeborg, but she's in the Netherlands, and oh gosh, One More Stitch, something like that. She's phenomenal if you get a chance to watch her. But anyway, she does on Sundays, she has a great rotation, which I kind of copied. And on Sundays, she does an unusual stitch or a different stitch, and she's been working on heart anger. Well, I liked the combination of that and doing something related to faith on Sundays. And so I've had this project since I very first found my LNS maybe a year ago. And it's called the Persian Bird, and it's a pattern by Summer House Stitchworks. And it is I think it's their 10th year, like their celebrating 10 years of needlework design. So it's like their 10 work anniversary celebration pattern. And anyway, it's called the Persian Bird, and it has my absolute favorite scripture verse, which is, "Be still and know that I am God." And the deal behind this is, so I was raised Catholic, and we're Lutheran now, and I've been a Lutheran since I married my husband, and that's very unusual, I know. Usually Catholics don't convert. Long drawn out story to why that happened, but I was raised Catholic, and I actually went to 12 years of Catholic school, and I had awesome teachers. I had wonderful nuns and lay teachers that taught all the way through. I went to an all-girl Catholic high school in Denver, and it was a phenomenal experience. And I learned a lot about Catholic doctrine, and I learned a lot about just Christian kindness, but I did not learn much about the Bible. And I think the Catholic Church is changing that now. But the Catholic Church, at least for me, did not teach me a whole lot about the Bible. Where the Lutheran Church is much more, I don't want to say scripturally based, because I believe that the Catholic teachings are scripturally based. It's just that I wasn't taught much about the Bible. So when my children were small, when Maddie, my youngest, was a baby, she was awful. I had two children who were just sweet and kind and didn't know what a temper tantrum was, and never cried and never fussed and never nothing. And Maddie came out screaming and never stopped until she was 6. And we would take her to church on Sundays, and at that time we lived in North Kansas City, Missouri. And we worshiped at this little Lutheran church on the campus of William Jewell College. And it was this old Baptist church that the Lutherans had kind of had I think bought at one point in time. And everything was wood in that church. And she would have her little black patent leather shoes on, and she would start kicking the back of the pew. And this child is awesome now. She's been a great kid since she was in first grade, but when she was a toddler, she was out of control. She would throw herself face first into the ground if she wasn't happy with you. And she did it so many times, and one time gave herself a bloody nose. And I called the doctor, and I said, I don't know what to do. She's thrown herself face first into the ground. She's probably got a concussion. And he said, when it starts to hurt, she'll stop doing it. And then she gave herself a bloody nose. And the next day, she threw herself backwards. And I called the doctor, and he said, when it starts to hurt, she'll quit doing it. And she eventually quit throwing herself around. But I would take her out of church because she would start kicking the back of the pew, which was wood, with these patent leather shoes in this little, tinny church that ever echoed. And there was not much of a fellowship area or an entrance, at just this little tiny room that you kind of walked into. Sorry. And I would take her back there and hold her, try to listen to the sermon, and bounce her up and down, and so that she would stop kicking and crying and doing, misbehaving, doing whatever. And there was a sign above the door of the church that said, "Be still and know that I am God." And it was just, I would just read it and just think, it's okay. It's okay. And it was really one of the first Bible verses, and I was 30 years old, but it was probably one of the very first Bible verses that I could ever quote. And so when I saw this, I thought, oh, yeah, I've got to do, I've got to do this. And so it's beautiful. It serves two purposes because it has some unusual stitching in it. It's not all cross stitch. And this feather came with the came with the pattern. So I have this feather upstairs, and when I'm all done, I can attach it. And so it's beautiful. It's being done in silk. It's was my first time ever working with silk, and I think it's the Carrie's Creation silk. And this is, so I've been working on it on Sundays, and this is where I am. So, and this past Sunday, I got a lot of the peacock done, so I was very, very happy with that. But, yeah, so that's Be Still and Know, and that's my Sunday stitching, and I love it, and I hope I get it done this year. I'd like to get it done this year. And, so yeah, so that's that piece. Okay. Then I worked just a little bit, not nearly enough, on Happily Ever After, and you guys have seen this. The first month was the Owl and the Pussycat, which I had finished and was ready. The second month was Heidi. I got started on it right away and then laid it aside to do a million other things, probably the Valentine one. And so I only have just a little tiny bit of Heidi, oh jeez, of Heidi done. But there's Heidi in her little sheet. And then this month just came out, and it is 3 Billy Goats Gruff. So I love this. It's so beautiful. I'm doing it just everything, you know, as called for. Everything's as called for. I still don't even have Happily Ever After done, which is kind of sad. Close, but not quite. I hate borders. Borders are, I love how they look, and they're definitely worth doing, but they're just not that much fun. And this fabric is so beautiful. It's I think I told you it's the first time I've ever worked with the sparkly, I think it's called opalescent. I love it. Okay, so then talking about enabling and all of that good stuff. And I'm going to blame Michelle Rudy again. Which, by the way, I saw that she had some babies last night. That was so much fun. Seeing the babies. I was showing Maddie, my youngest, wants to have babies. I think she does eventually. No, she wants a farm and she wants to have goats. Hold on, the dog just grabbed thread.